Welcome, everyone. I'm Sue Barber, author, former IT director for a Fortune 500 company, turned executive coach, and this is the Visibility Factor podcast, where we explore how to raise your visibility and play bigger at work and in life. We'll explore key topics and welcome guests that help you shift your thinking about yourself so you can see new possibilities for your leadership. I'm on a mission to create a visibility movement for leaders to show their value and be seen for their true talent. Are you ready to take the next step towards a higher level of visibility for yourself? Let's go. Today's episode of the Visibility Factor podcast is brought to you by Amplify You, the ultimate program designed to unleash your full potential and amplify your success. Imagine having a personal coach cheering you on, guiding you through a journey of self-discovery, and helping you break free from those limiting beliefs that have been holding you back. That's exactly what Amplify You is all about. Whether you're a leader now or aspiring to be one, this program is your ticket to a more confident, empowered you. It's like having a supportive friend in your corner, encouraging you to dream big. It's about having the career success that you want and creating a life you truly deserve. Amplify You offers a unique experience to help you build the confidence to tackle any challenge life throws your way. If you're interested in learning more about the program, please visit susanmbarber.com and click on the menu item Programs. Are you ready to transform your life and your career? Let's make it happen. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Visibility Factor podcast. This is Sue Barber, your host. I'm thrilled today to bring you my guest, Lora Cheadle. She is doing some great things in the world. She's an author. She's a coach. She's got a really great story that she's going to share with you. So welcome to the show, Lora. I'd love to have you introduce yourself.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'm thrilled to be here too. I am Lora Cheadle. I am a former corporate attorney who left the practice of law after about 10 years to go into coaching and consulting. And I have been doing that ever since. But boy, it has been an interesting journey.
Yes, you definitely have had an interesting journey. So I'd love to have you share whatever you're comfortable with sharing with the audience, because I know you have a story that's very personal that happened to you, and it really kind of pivoted your life in a lot of ways. So whatever you'd love to share. I just think it's helpful for people to know that, not everybody's got it perfect, right, in the world, and we all have stuff that we have to deal with when it comes along.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share. Like I said, after practicing law for 10 years, I went into coaching and consulting. And I was all about empowerment and visibility. And I wrote a book. And the title of the book is Flaunt, and Flaunt is an acronym for my IP. So everything was around revealing yourself and showing yourself authentically. And I even use the concept of burlesque, which is stripping away the layers to reveal that golden heart underneath. So I'm doing all this work around visibility, and I'm coaching, and my business is rolling, and I'm so happy. And I'm like, yes, be bold and show yourself and be unapologetic. And then I found out after 23 years of marriage of what I thought was a really good, solid, happy marriage, that my husband had been cheating on me for 15 years with 5 different women. And it devastated me. It devastated me to a point I can't even begin to express, because my entire reality was not real. The marriage that I thought, my life that I thought, to find out that none of it was real, that there were multiple other women, that I thought I was this cherished, loved wife. I thought like everything was not so. And I couldn't get my head around it personally. But then also business-wise, I thought, my God, Lora, what an imposter you are. You're out there in the world telling everybody to flaunt and to be brave and to love yourself and to love your shadow and to just talk about it and be authentic. And this happens and you're flaunting who you were, but your life wasn't even what you thought. And who's going to listen to you? And oh my God, what are people going to say when I tell them this story? They're going to say, what's wrong with you? You were the nagging wife. Did you let yourself go? Are you not interested in your husband? Like, all the blame and judgment is going to be on me. And how embarrassing is this to think I spent all of that time being happy and presenting this marriage and relationship that I thought was my marriage and relationship, but everybody's going to think you are so fake, Lora. None of this is true. And it completely folded me in and shut me down. And I didn't know how I was going to go forward.
I mean, of course, it's just like everything you knew was a little bit of a fantasy, right? Everything that you thought was real is not real. The real stuff was not what you thought was even happening. So I know that that was a tough journey to get through for you. So what is it that you did to help yourself move past that? Because I think this is obviously one sort of betrayal that's horrible and difficult to deal with. But I think people also have betrayals from friendships or other relationships, work relationships too. What was it that helped you move past that?
Yeah. Before I go into that, I want to validate, yes, it doesn't have to be infidelity. Divorce can cause feelings of betrayal. Losing a job, having a bad, getting a bad review at the end of the year can make you be like, wait, what? I gave the company my all and now you're doing this to me. Like, it doesn't matter where those feelings come from. It was really interesting because at first I had to grieve. At first, I had to move into rage and anger and grief, and I had to ugly cry for a month. I had to spend a lot of time on the floor grieving and processing and letting that go. And absolutely, I saw a counselor and I got help because I needed help. And then beyond that, when I first started having the sun come back out again, I started realizing, this is so ironic. This is so ironic that my work is around flaunt. It's around authenticity. It's around revealing your shadow. And I am being put to the test here. And it's not that I'm a fraud. I'm a fraud if I can't follow my own 5 steps. I'm a fraud if I can't do my own work. I'm a fraud if I say, well, yeah, for all the small things, you should do this, but for the big stuff, yeah, don't do that. And it was kind of funny, but I started following my own advice. I started reading my own words. I started doing my own work. I started getting comfortable in myself again. I started reclaiming my identity, and I did what I was already teaching others. And yeah, it takes time, and it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back sometimes. But I brought myself back, and I brought myself stronger than I ever was before because I know how to do it now. I know how to do it for all the big things. So a small thing happens and I'm like, I got this.
That's no biggie, right?
Exactly. You lose a client, that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll find another one. Yes, I love that. And I love how, obviously a difficult story, but I think even just owning it and talking about it not only is helping you continue to move past it, but also helping other people who might experience something similar and just be that person on the floor not knowing what to do. So what are some of the things that people are sharing with you from your book that have helped them the most?
Yeah. I will talk right now that flaunt is an acronym, and I'll go through that acronym and then I will answer that question because it's the middle step of that. Flaunt stands for F, find your fetish. And that means for doing that thing that lights you up. L stands for laugh out loud. According to the Mayo Clinic, laughter is the #1 way to calm and re-regulate the nervous system. So whether you feel like you're in fight, you're in flight, or you're in freeze, laughter will release you. AU, and this is the step I'll come back to first, stands for accept unconditionally. And that's for accepting both yourself and others and your situation unconditionally. N stands for navigating the negative. It's easy to navigate things that are easy, but really what matters is learning how to navigate the negative and understanding you're navigating it. You're not in it. You are not that. You are navigating through it. And then the T in flaunt stands for trust your own truth. And that's for always coming back to your heart, to your center, and trusting the things that you know to be true. So yes, I hear a lot from other people around many of the steps, but the one that I think I hear the most on is that AU, golden center of flaunt, accept unconditionally. Because whatever it is, we get locked into thinking, when I lose 10 pounds, when I make more money, when the kids are older, when I get my master's, then I will live. And it's about accepting unconditionally. You are where you are now. You're the age that you are now. You're the size that you are now. You are who you are now. And the trick is to live now. It's not to wait until I have a travel companion, until I put away a certain amount of money. It's about now. And it's so easy. Like in these tough situations, I do a lot of infidelity and betrayal coaching right now. And so many people will come to me and the first thing they say is, I wish this hadn't have happened. I would give anything to go back. And it's like, I know, but it did. And it's not even about forgiveness. It's about being here now. It did happen. And what are you going to do now?
Yep. Everybody has a choice in that moment, right? Where something happens. I even think about like when my company was separating, right? I didn't want that to happen. I wanted it to be the way it was. I didn't want to lose my friends who are going to go to the other company. But there's nothing you can do about it in that moment, right? You can only go forward.
Right.
And I think your point is so valid about what are you going to do? You have a choice right now, and you cannot wait for 20 years from now to live your life. I think that it's really fascinating. I think we've all been kind of given this story about save money, wait for retirement, then you can enjoy your life, but you can start enjoying it right now. I think that's a really powerful message that you're sharing. And I hope people will hear that, because that is something that I just see so many people waiting and waiting and waiting. And then that time comes and then they can't travel, or they can't do the things that they want, or their kids are, often gone somewhere, so there's so many things that we're waiting for instead of just starting to do something now.
Yeah. And even along the way, like if you're going through a tough time, if you're losing a job, losing a relationship, if somebody's passed away, if somebody's in hospice, like tough times happen. And I'm not saying like throw a party every single day and woo, 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 but you can find joy along the way. If something bad is happening, and that's that F, that find your fetish, what can you do to nurture and nourish? Can you just read for 10 minutes? Can you take a walk and breathe? What are those moments of joy that you can find? Because a lot of bad stuff happens and a lot of stressful things happen. But until you cultivate the ability to find some presence and find your fetish, even in small little moments, like one of the practices that I teach my people is when you start frazzling and getting negative, grab like hand cream or hand lotion, something small, rub it on, feel the tactile sensation, smell it, and just ground into your senses. It's 30 seconds? But it's a nurturing behavior. You're rubbing, you're touching, you're calming. Give yourself some deep pressure. Squeeze your arms, press your legs. Just do something to ground into who you are and feel a little tiny bit of joy, even in the midst of really tough times.
Yeah. And I think your message about the navigating the negative is important too, because so many people, especially today, there's a lot of negativity in the world. If you look at social media for any period of time, you can see plenty of that. And I'm just wondering, what do you do to help people try to move away from that? I know it's hard to get away from sometimes, and you almost have to build a shield around you to not see it or feel it or from other people that you may live with even. So how do you help people through that?
Yeah, great question. Besides turning it off, which is, I think, the number one way, just to stop. A question I have people ask themselves is, can I do something about this? Can I do something about it? And if you can do something about it, then it gives you an action plan. What is that thing I can do? I can donate money. I can bring a casserole to my friend. I can get on a phone call and offer support. If you can do something, do it. And if you can't do it, you have to bless and release. You have to let it go. And maybe that means not being as informed for a while until you can break the hold that it's got on you, but release it, because you can't do anything anyway. It's that accept unconditionally. I have to accept I can't change the way people think. I can't change the crazy making that's going on. I can let it go. I can return to myself. And if there's something I can do, I can do that.
Yeah, it's kind of like one step at a time, right? You can only do what you can do, and you can't control everything. And although a lot of people would like to try to control everything, it's just not possible. Okay, so I want to go a little bit different. I'm curious, what was the transition for you like going from corporate attorney to becoming a coach and consultant? How was that transition for you?
It was challenging and easy all at the same time, like so many transitions. Part of it, I had just had my second baby. My husband at the time had gotten a job out of state. So he was traveling 2 weeks out of every month. And I couldn't hold it all. I couldn't be a corporate attorney with 2 kids and a husband who was gone. And 3 out of my 4 grandparents were in the phases of dying and were in and out of hospice. So way too much was going on in my world at that time. So in that regard, it was like, you know what? I'm not super happy here anyway. It's time to transition. This is a normal, natural transition. I loved being in the wellness space. I loved coaching. I had gone back to school and become a certified hypnotherapist. I was doing a whole lot of different things in the wellness space. And to me, it was more like preventative law. Because when you're an attorney, you're solving problems, you're cleaning up people's messes. And by moving into the coaching, consulting, wellness space, I was like, this is perfect. I can clean up the problems before they start. Nobody's even going to need to see lawyers after this because they're going to be self-aware. They're going to have good communication skills. They're going to figure it all out. So that part was easy. What was really challenging was the identity part. Because you go from having the identity of a lawyer to just mom, to just nothing. And it was like, coaching was kind of new at the time. And people are like, what is that? Oh, that's some woo-woo type thing. Oh, and it was like, how do I have the confidence to be me without that label, without that mask of corporate attorney? And that ate at me so much. Why do I feel so much more valid introducing myself as an attorney than introducing myself as a mom who does wellness coaching? I am not different inside. So it was kind of like an identity crisis that I had to work through in that transition, where I moved from that external validation to really finding that internal sense of validation.
Yeah, you and I traveled a similar path there because I had the same. I didn't realize it was going to be a thing to deal with, honestly, until I left. I was like, okay, I had all of this craft credibility and all of that stuff was just given to me. Anybody who met me, I'd introduce myself and it's automatically like, oh, you work for craft. That's so amazing. And I didn't even have to try, right? I just showed up. And then I left and then I thought, okay, now I've got to stand on my own.
Right.
Like, who's going to know like anything? I have to talk about myself now all the time. It's like so interesting to be a person who talks about visibility now. But at that point in time, that was not, where I was going at that moment. And I remember sitting there thinking, I'm having an identity crisis right now. And I don't know what to do to move forward. And so it definitely took me some time as well. So yeah, for anybody who's going through this, just know that it's normal to feel this way, and that we are 2 examples of people who have been able to move past it and see just the fun side of what we get to do now is so amazing. I'm so glad I made the switch, and I know for you that you are as well. So,
yeah.
And I just have to tell you, like, for all that you just went through, I didn't even know about the grandparents situation before when we talked before. I mean, that is a lot.
It was so much.
I know. I mean, so just let's talk about your strength and resilience for one thing. I mean, those 2 areas plus just having you just exude joy, just all about you is just joy. And so I know that's a choice that people have to make, but let's talk about your resilience through all of that big transition.
Yeah. It's hard. I mean, it's hard. And it's constantly this balance between feeling your feelings and letting them out and giving yourself compassion and grace. And then, just like you said, choosing joy, choosing to move on. And what I would think a lot is, who do I want to be? How do I want to be? Do I want to be exhausted? Do I want to be run down? Do I want to be bitter? Do I want to be resentful? That's not who I am, because I think we all know those people, whether it's the bitter old person or the, curmudgeon-y old guy, or, those people who are always racing around. And it was like, that's not who I am. And that's not who I want to be. So what do I have to think, believe, and do in order to be the kind of person that I want to be? And it's a balance. It's a balance. Sometimes I need to engage more. Sometimes I need to engage less. Sometimes I need help because I can't shake myself out of it. Sometimes I use my tools and my tools work great. It's constantly navigating. And I think that's part of it too. And I think that's why I chose the word navigating when I was, writing this and talking about it, is we're so conditioned to think it's from point A to point B. You go from here to here and then ding, you got it. You don't got it. You will have it, but and that sounds so depressing, but every day is a struggle in its own way. Every week's a struggle in its own way. Every phase of life is a struggle in its own way. And I think once you accept unconditionally that there's always something there, you never arrive. You never arrive. You never just get there and it's easy. It's that constant navigation to keep you balanced. And sometimes you fall, and that's okay. I think that's really where that visibility comes in. See me fall. Watch me fall. Watch me use my tools to get me back up. Watch me not be able to use the tools and need help. Mm-hmm. Either way, It's fine.
Yeah, I think it's an important example for people to see, right? Especially if they've never been through it, never experienced it. When I thought about the words you used, trust your truth, and the part where you shared about external validation and all of those pieces, for me, that was also true, where I had a lot of external validation, didn't realize that I had it until I left, and then learned a lot about internal validation, which I totally am all over now, but didn't understand that was even something to do. So can you talk to me a little bit about the self-trust angle, trusting your own truth, the internal validation angle to that? I think it's something that a lot of people may or may not be aware of for themselves.
Yeah. Oh, there's so many different layers there. First, I'm going to talk about intuition, then I'm going to use it using burlesque as the analogy, because I think it's important to have both. We all have a sense of intuition and inner knowing, and it's trained out of us. But we've all had feelings, turn left, call somebody, ooh, don't go there. And it's just being aware of that, tuning into it, playing little games with yourself, testing, how does this feel to me? And when I say, how does it feel to me? It's getting out of your head and it's getting into your body. How does this feel in my body? Does it make me prickly and antsy? Or does it make me be like, ah? And it's not that it always has to be completely one way or the other, but just start noticing. And I talk about, what does your head say? What does your heart say? And what does your gut say? And you'll notice there's 3 points there. So there'll be a tiebreaker. And sometimes your gut says something and your heart wants something different, but your head knows the truth. And any combination. So check in with all 3 places. That is your truth. You have 3 wisdom places in your body, the head, the heart, and the gut. Check in with all of them. And then trusting your truth. I love the burlesque analogy, because if you haven't seen burlesque, no, it's not stripping. It's an art form where a little storyline is taking place. There is the revealing of the body, of costumes, never a full nudity, but you're stripping out of something into something else. And what makes it enjoyable is, as the layers come off, it either confirms what you believed about that person, or it confounds you because it reveals something totally different. And isn't that how we live life? Like, as I strip away, will you see more of me? As I take off the label of attorney, as I take off the label of infidelity survivor, as I take off the label of 55-year-old female woman who lives, like, as you take all of those things off, you will see more of me and I will become more authentic. Versus, and that's trusting my truth, versus as these labels come off, whoa, you were so different at home than you are at work. wow, I wouldn't have ever seen that about you. Who are you? What is that truth? And why are you covering so much? Why are you pretending to be something different? I always talk about like shapewear. When you put on the shapewear underneath, you look great. But when you take off the shapewear, everything falls out. That's who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Own that everything falling out. If you want to wear shapewear because it's fun, I wear it. I look better. But I'm okay not wearing it. And it's who I am.
Yeah, exactly. I used to refer to it as a mask. Like I wore a mask for a long time and didn't know that either. Honestly, I told myself a lot of good stories as to why I had to do that, which were not true. But I think it's a great analogy, right? Somebody described to me the other day when I was talking about working with them, they're like, I feel like you're peeling an onion. Like you keep peeling back different layers of me and helping me see something different about myself that I couldn't see before. And I think that's, kind of what a coach generally is doing, right? Observing and asking the right questions to help them see in themselves something different that they couldn't see for themselves. And some of that is truth. And some of that is just something that maybe was buried in there a long time ago that they had no idea was even there. It's great. And I know that you're writing a second book now. So I don't know if you'd like to share anything about that.
Yeah. This book is called It's Not Burnout, It's Betrayal, 5 Tools to Fuel Up and Thrive. Because what I started noticing in working with people in the corporate world, I was doing some burnout recovery training. It's usually not burnout. Burnout is stress that has been unsuccessfully managed. Most people know how to manage stress. What really is eating away at them is that sense of betrayal. I should have been promoted by now. You shouldn't have done this. The company shouldn't have done that. This isn't the way it's supposed to work. And it's a disruption of your worldview that ruptures your view of yourself or the world. And it leads to feelings of betrayal. So a lot of times when people are at work and they're feeling resentful and disgruntled and like this company owes me something, and it's really an internalized sense of betrayal that, oh, I sold out. This isn't my dream. So this book walks you through, again, 5 steps to help you manage that sense of betrayal so you can address those feelings and then make decisions going forward that will keep you engaged, innovative, and thriving in your career.
Wow, so important. Yeah, I think it's very true. I think sometimes people will say, well, it's their fault I didn't get promoted, or it's someone else's fault. And instead of looking at themselves and saying, what could I do? It's back to that. What decision do you want to make for yourself right now? And how do you want to take the information that you have and do something with it? What helped you really bring this book to life?
Oh, great question. Several different things. First of all, it was coaching people and really understanding that whenever people would have a problem, it would be because they had an expectation that wasn't met. So then how do we get to the root cause of that expectation? How do we figure that out? And then once I started figuring out that, then I would do some roundtables. I would interview people. I would talk to people. I would work with people. Hey, let me teach you some betrayal recovery skills. And let me see, you tell me if that helps. And without fail, people would be like, oh, I do feel betrayed. You're right. I feel betrayed.
You're right.
And sometimes even just naming it is enough because it solidifies and concretizes that this is a feeling that I'm having and it's normal and it's valid and I'm not crazy. I feel betrayed.
Yeah, you're right. I think it's not always a word that you use, right? I think it's more about the blaming side and not always seeing it as betrayal. Yeah, that's really powerful. I think that's really, really great. What are you hoping to do with this book? Is this book going to have, programs and workshops and all kinds of stuff for corporate as well?
Yes, I already speak. I do speaking. Same thing. My keynote is It's Not Burnout, It's Betrayal, 5 Tools to Fuel Up and Thrive. And from that, I also have a Speak Up and Influence workshop that I do. I do a workshop on those 5 tools. And then as an attorney, I'm also big on advocacy, because if you can't advocate on your own behalf, or on behalf of the company, or on behalf of your employees, you're sunk.
Right.
It's all about advocacy. And this is teaching people how to advocate, how to be okay with some of those uncomfortable emotions that come up So they're more willing to have those difficult conversations and how to find collaboration and move forward instead of making everything so darn adversarial. Because right now, the whole world is like locked in this conflict, and we're not going to make progress unless we can actually speak up and start influencing.
So what do you do? I'm curious. I have my own tools, but I'm curious what yours might be to help people work through those tough emotions, because, I think a lot of times they don't even realize that they've kind of buried them and they just keep going with their day. We just ignore that that's happening. And eventually, you and I probably know more than anyone that stress will eventually take its form in some kind of physical way, and you will have an issue. So I'm curious what you help people do with that.
It's a practice of developing an awareness of your body. And it might sound like it's so easy. Sure, I just sit and think about my body a couple times a day. No, it's not. It's not easy because we are so trained to be up here, and it's dropping out of your head and into your body. And just like I mentioned earlier, having those 3 checkpoints, head, heart, and gut, it just becomes a tool. It becomes a habit. If I'm going to make a decision, I don't decide, I feel all 3. In a similar way, I bring some movement back into people's day, into their stomach, into their shoulders, into their neck, and have them feel what's going on in their body. Breathing it out. Just right now, I released my stomach. I was holding it in. Oh, wow. Yeah, I was holding it. Drop that. It's just developing that awareness and that practice to be okay in your body. And when those uncomfortable emotions start rising, when you start feeling tension, breaking yourself away from that external and moving more into the internal. Because if you and I are having a conflict, I'm going to be getting more and more agitated. I'm going to get louder. I'm going to be leaning in. And my body is going to be becoming a shield. And when we're defensive, our words aren't getting through and their words aren't getting through. So it's literally softening the skin, softening the shoulders, softening the throat, making myself more vulnerable, which sounds counterintuitive, more open, more vulnerable. So now I can listen. And I don't need to respond from here. I respond from down here, my heart, my belly, my breath, asking for time, pausing, breathing, smiling. Let me think about that. Teaching people some phrases like that to break, to slow down, because the number one key in difficult conversations is slowing down.
Yeah. And I think, when I've talked to people about that, I'll say, if it's a really big conflict, you're in an office or you're wherever you are, it's okay to say, you know what, I need a couple minutes and leave the room, because I think people are afraid to do that. They're like, oh, I don't want to leave. I have to stay here and keep fighting the battle. Yes. But I think it actually, it breaks the energy in the room, right? And your physical presence of leaving gives you, just a reset on yourself in that emotional moment where you can start to just breathe and slow down. And so I'll say, either delay the meeting and do it again tomorrow if you can come back in with maybe calmer heads prevail at that point, or you just leave the room for a few minutes and then come back. I think it can just make such a difference. So I love that you shared that too.
And one thing I share with people, because I think we've all heard slow down, calm, meditate, but I also want to talk about on the other end. I teach people to shake, just like this, shake your hands. And if you've seen a lot of people who are like autistic or on the spectrum, they do like a shake. Dogs, they get up and they shake. Animals after fighting shake. When that energy is physically building in our nerves, we need to shake. We need to release it. And you can go to the restroom at work and you can shake your shoulders and you can shake your legs and you can move your body and nobody's going to notice, but it dissipates the energy. Energy is physical. Energy is real. It's like a wire with too much energy in it. It's going to blow. You got to get that energy out. So yes, calmer head, but sometimes a more active body. Move that body. And shaking my hands is my favorite. It's just, because it's easy to do.
I never thought of that. It's really actually clever. I never thought of that before. Yeah. So yeah, I will try that and see how that works.
Yeah, do. Let me know.
Yeah. Okay. So anything else you want to share with the audience before we get into the last part of the podcast?
I think the only thing I want to share with them is no matter what you're feeling, no matter what you're struggling with, there's always a tool. You're never blocked. So often people are like, I'm blocked. It didn't work out for me. Let's not make things dramatic. Just find a tool to fix it. There is always something you can do. Always.
And I think the other message that I loved that you shared is just asking for help and not being afraid to do that, because everybody needs help, at different times. And the fear of asking for help is so powerful for people. Like, they're just afraid to do it. We're going to transition into what I call the Rise Up and Be Visible quick tips. These are 4 questions that I ask every guest on the show. So for the first one, what do you think visibility is, and why did you answer that way?
I think visibility is the ability to be comfortable with whatever is. The reason I answered that way is so often we're comfortable being visible when our hair is done, our makeup is on, our clothing looks great, we're well rested. That's not visibility, that's perfection, and perfection doesn't exist. Visibility is being comfortable with whatever is, in good, bad, and everything in between.
Yeah, I love that. And what are you doing to be visible?
I don't want to say struggle, but I am aware of visibility every day. And I am aware of my perfectionistic tendencies. And I am aware of when I think I want to be different. And whenever I have that thought come up like, ooh, I might want to, I just check myself. And I just encourage myself, talk myself down to show up as I am in whatever moment.
Love that. Okay, so the next one, what is the best career or leadership advice you've received?
I think the best advice that I received is you don't really need to push. Like, do what is that next thing that's unfolding. But when you jump too far ahead, you miss what's right in front of you. So kind of like I said earlier with slowing down. Do what's coming up next. Sure, you can have your vision, but don't chase what's out there. Do what's in here.
Great message. And last one, what is a book you would recommend to the audience?
I've got 2. I just started reading Worthy, and that's a really good book. I would definitely recommend that. I'm totally blanking on the author's name.
I think it's Jamie Kern Lima is the author of that book. Yes, I read her other book. It was really good.
And then it's a slightly older book, but I just got done reading Educated, a memoir, and that was amazing. Tara Westover. I just got done reading Educated by Tara Westover, and that was a great memoir.
I feel like I've heard of that. Can you share a little bit about what that one's about?
She grew up as a fundamentalist Mormon in the Idaho mountains and was not sent to school, did not know anything, lots of violence, lots of mental illness. And she ended up breaking away, going to college, and just how her education, including up to her PhD, really shifted her life.
What a transformation for her.
Really well done.
Awesome. Excellent. Well, thanks so much. If you would like people to reach out to you, where would you like them to reach out to you at?
Yes, please. LoraCheadle.com. It's LoraCheadle.com. You can get information on my book, Flaunt, Drop Your Cover and Reveal Your Smart, Sexy, and Spiritual Self. And if you go to my website, LoraCheadle.com/freebies, you can download a free chapter. You can download the reader's guide. You can download a guided meditation. I have actually 6 really fun downloads. So LoraCheadle.com/freebies.
Excellent. We love a freebie for sure.
Yes, we do.
And when does your new book come out?
It should come out in about a month and a half.
Okay. Oh, very soon. All right. Well, everyone, check out her website and please get her books. She's just been a joy to talk to today. And I'm so glad that we were introduced by Susie DeVille. She is one of my favorites, and I just love her too. So thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing your story and for all of the things that you've been through. And it's just impressive to hear someone go through a lot of challenges and be able to still feel a lot of joy and help other people.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the conversation, for being who you are, and for doing what you are. I really appreciate it.
All right. Thanks so much for joining today on the Visibility Factor podcast, and we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks so much for listening to the Visibility Factor podcast. Remember that visibility starts with small steps that are intentional and consistent each day. Be bold, be visible, be the leader you were meant to be. Find us and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever else you listen to podcasts. Follow us on all of our social media platforms, which are highlighted in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time on the Visibility Factor Podcast.